Okay, I think we are live. Welcome everyone to a new Coffee with Gable webinar. I hope everyone is doing great today. I hope you're ready for an engaging discussion, and let's take it away. So just to open up the session, of course, some standard housekeeping and Zoom tips. As usual, this webinar as well is eligible for SHRM recertification. So for everyone who attends live, the SHRM codes and the recording will be sent to everyone after the webinar. And regarding our chat, just to make sure that if you have any questions for us or you want to drop something in the chat, just make sure that you set your Zoom chat settings to everyone, because it sometimes can default to hosts and panelists. And while everyone is joining and while we are waiting, let's drop a little question to get to know each other better. So what is your favorite breakfast food? I'll start by saying anything sweet goes for me. I'm not a type for savory breakfast. Simi, Liza, what about you?
Well, my favorite breakfast food is very special because it's specially made, and I'm by the way, I'm not a coffee lover, so I'm a lover, and it's specially made by my husband every morning, prepared tea, and that's my morning energy booster every single day. I cannot live without it. Like, I crave for it, specially made with love tea.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Lisa?
Well, I wish I had that. I have my regular coffee, but I would say usually it's actually pancakes. Pancakes is like my go-to thing. Every Saturday, we have our routine with my girls, so I make them pancakes and we eat together with the family. So it's really fun.
Oh my God, Lisa, you're my person. Pancakes are amazing. Okay, so I think we can dive right in. And I want to introduce both of you today. So today with us, we have Simantinee Roy, who we call Simi because we love her very much. She's the head of workplace and global real estate at Imperva. And we have Liza Mash Levin, who is the co-founder and CEO of Gable. Welcome, both of you. I'm very happy to be with you here today. So let's dive right in. Before we actually start with like the questions and the meat of the discussion, I would like to share some key learnings and key data about the state of the workplace, where we are today. And let's start by saying that 63% of employees say that building relationships with their coworkers is the #1 challenge they have with remote and hybrid work. And that also 66% of C-suite executives say that corporate culture is more important for performance than the company's operating model. But at the same time, we have half of employees saying remote work is an absolute priority for them in their next role. So this is not something they're willing to compromise on. Yet 76% of them rank work-life balance as a key factor that affects their job satisfaction. And finally, in these recession looming times, we have 1/3 of employees who are feeling very anxious about work most of the time. So if we have all this as like a picture of where we are, I would like to, when we talk about redesigning workplace strategies to help us manage global teams, I have a question for each of you. So for Simi, I would like to know a little bit more about, Imperva's workplace strategy, where your team is, how you manage that. And for Liza, I would like to know, you talk to workplace leaders every day. So I would like to hear from you, what are some trends that you're seeing? What are they challenged by? And what makes them anxious and what makes them happy or excited about the prospect? Simi, we can start with you.
Sounds good. First of all, thank you, Andrea, Lisa, and Team Gable for giving me this wonderful opportunity to speak with all of you and to all our guests who are attending the webinar or probably listening to the recording afterwards. So thank you. It's a great pleasure to meet you all virtually. To start off, first of all, Imperva is present pretty much all across the world, in every region. And we are headquartered in San Mateo, California, but we have a huge presence in Israel, Rehoboth and Tel Aviv. And we have a big presence in, places like Singapore, Belfast, Sweden. We have a presence in APJ. We are also present in other cities in the States, in Cala. So as you see, our teams are like all across the world, and not everywhere we have a physical presence. Like it's impossible to go into 90 countries or more than that, and and build an office or at least have a workspace. So what makes it important, and especially in this world, is flexibility, and that's the foundation of our workplace strategy. Is to provide an agile workplace strategy for our Impervians. So we have, as I said, we have offices globally distributed across the world, but we also provide them solutions that enables them to, go into spaces that they probably would need for an offsite or for a team meeting or for a customer meeting. So we have flexible workspace solutions for all our Imperva employees for every part of the world.
Amazing. So one, I feel like we talk with companies like Imperva, and I would say small. By the way, we have a lot of Israeli presence as well. Our engineering is in Israel, and in general, we see this, that managing and orchestrating distributed teams, it's very hard, and there is no one size fits all. And I think this is the main thing here, is that every workplace leader I talk to has almost a different strategy, right? Something works for a subset of teams, but not all. And I think here, this is a really interesting inflection point of reinventing what does it mean in terms of workplace strategy, hybrid, flex, remote. I think every company is on the spectrum, which is fascinating to me. And I think the biggest thing is, what do we care about? And we care about our employees. We care about how engaged they are, how much can we help them collaborate to feel connected, but also feel productive in whatever workplace environment they choose to work from. And I think this is the key challenge to try to figure out, is those pieces of puzzle of feeling connected, going, whether this is going to the office or having an office, doesn't mean that you feel connected, doesn't mean that you feel productive. So I think it's just I would say, metrics of variables that every workplace leader is trying to piece together. And I think it's a challenging position to be at.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So if we talk about how challenging it is, and if we talk about that need to build a workplace that is fulfilling, that optimizes or facilitates connections. So Liza, this one would be particularly for you. Why are connections so prominent now? Why are they so important in this, as you said, spectrum? And what do you see companies specifically struggling with? And Simi, a question for you is, how do you facilitate those connections at Imperva? What do you do? And if you have any initiatives that you internally designed that you would like to share with us.
Great. So I think there are a few things there. One is intentionality. That is very important, because every company we speak with is on the spectrum of remote to hybrid to some configuration. Different people have different needs and also different willingness to collaborate and work together to get out of their comfort zone, whether this is office or home. So I think what we see that what works well is, one, doing a lot of experiments, regional, team-based, that's one. The second is really treating employees as your customers, right? So serving after each and every one of these initiatives to really get feedback and to iterate quickly. I think this is like, I would say like a startup mode in a sense in this environment. I think the biggest challenges is really creating one holistic strategy that will work with different people needs. And I'm seeing this in, for example, we have some companies that create regional champions. So every location has a champion that gets people together, whether this is in an office presence or some flex space, or just going to a happy hour, and they have budget and they manage it as basically like a business unit in a sense. That's one thing that we see. The other is, I would say, company-driven offsites, meetups, whether this is, I would say, on-site or off-site. I think that's a really big thing. But the common thread is really intentionality and having some strategy or plan and executing it, I think is crucial in order to make the connection and collaboration work. Because the easiest is just to sit all day in front of your computer and just work, right? So that's what we see.
Yeah, Lisa, actually the word intentionality it literally struck me, because it's actually absolutely true. Like, you have to have that intention of bringing in people together and making it work, because right now, pretty much majority of the companies, unless it's mandated, and of course, every organization will work differently because their mission, vision, and what the expectation is out of the employees is different, right? But the fact still holds true that it has to be the intention, whether it's a site leadership intention or as a company culture intention, right, to bring people together. Now, at Imperva, our hybrid workplace is built on, as I mentioned, flexibility, but it's also built on trust. It welcomes and enables diverse work styles. Like I mentioned, we are like all over the world, right? How do you bring people together? How do you foster that human connections? It's so important, right? As you mentioned, sitting in front of a computer screen all day long, we will have screen fatigue. Stepping out for a walk, that is also fine. But how do you connect with each other? Because that ignites spark in the conversation that we have. That actually ignites a lot of these ideas that probably becomes a pilot and then becomes a full-time program that takes
Exactly.
some time. So at Imperva, like our foundation is trust, flexibility, empowerment, and of course providing employees the right tools and resources so to make them be productive at what they're doing. In terms of various initiatives, right, how do you bring together, like you actually touched on those predominantly. What we also do is, when we do these offsites or say trainings, or so that's a intentional opportunity to kind of bring them together. And at the same time, if we do that, we also kind of work together towards any CSR initiatives or any community give back initiatives, because then we are anyway gathered as a team, and then we do it as a team. So that builds connections. So we saw a lot of success in those. We tried during the pandemic, right? We tried doing regional virtual sessions because region-wise time zone becomes difficult. So to meet everyone's calendar, so we used to do like APJ sessions, EMEA sessions, or Israel EMEA sessions, whatever was friendly. So that went on for some time. That was good enough. But now, as travel began and as teams are meeting more often, so we do these group-based offsite events or team meetings, or if there's a customer or a partner meeting, so they take that opportunity and meet together, and they can meet anywhere. So one of the services that came out during this whole pandemic and everything was, as I mentioned, was flexibility. So we, as a part of workplace services, we offer meeting services as solutions. So for example, if you have, like my team has arranged meetings from Perth to Argentina. Do we have offices there? No. So basically, for example, if they have any particular needs, they would, we would provide them. We will partner with the local service provider and we will partner them and offer them, a space, a flexibility. So a flexible workspace so that they can go and utilize that space for however long they want, come back. And now next time some other team wants to meet somewhere else, so they do that. So that I think is a great solution as well, because one, we are, we are not committed to a lot of spaces for long term, right? And we provide that flexibility. So you're not bound or you're not tied to a particular physical location.
Wow, so how, like, can I just jump in with a little like sub question, like how for you as a workplace leader, how challenging logistically is to host those meetings from Perth to Argentina?
Yeah, no, it is. So what we do, yeah, I mean, see, the thing is, look at the beauty of it. You get to work with different culture, different work style, and you build relationship with these service partners or vendors or whoever it is, right? So there, you actually foster human connections virtually, not in person. But it could be challenging. Like the hearing about it, it could be challenging. But at the same time, we take that stress off our employees, right? We say we are here to provide you that service. You go focus on your thing, what you're supposed to do. Let us focus on the other side. So
yeah, I think it's incredible to hear, what an incredibly energizing attitude you have towards this. It's like, look at the beauty of it. I just love to hear that. Okay, let's talk a little bit about retention and engagement and company culture. So Simi, how does Imperva leverage that element of workplace experience to drive higher retention, better engagement, to foster that company culture that so many employees feel maybe disconnected from if they are remote? Again, we're talking about the intentionality of it. And Liza, for you, I would probably ask, how do you see companies measure that impact? And what do you see them want to double down on the most? What do they want to measure the most? Again, Simi, you can go ahead.
Sure. I'll be honest here. Okay. While we understand that, workplace experience plays a huge role in our day-to-day lives, but I will find it very hard to imagine a direct correlation between attraction, retention to a workspace, physical workspace, right? At the end of the day, like we can do all day long happy hours, we can do all day long offsites, we can do all day long all of the things to make it more attractive. We can give them free lunch, we can do this and that, right, to make them attractive. But at the end of the day, right, for me, attracting talent and retaining them is beyond a physical workspace and employee experience, right? It comes from work satisfaction, it comes from the company vision, the leadership, the culture, right? You don't want to be in a company that has toxic work culture. You don't want to be in a company where there's always racism or there's always like this blame game attitude, right? Toxic workplace culture. We don't want to be a part of that. So those, and how satisfied you are with your managers or the teams that you're working with. Are they giving you the tools that helps you to do your job better? Are you being productive in that environment? So that is what drives us to do what we love to do. At the end of the day, I can give you a beautiful workspace, a beautiful white glove service. But if you're not happy in what you do in front of that screen every day for 8 to 12 hours, nothing matters. That is my personal opinion. I mean, that's how I feel. But of course, these workplace experience initiatives do get us all together, and it motivates us to because now you're looking forward. But I've also seen instances where we would throw in a happy hour or we would throw in lunch. We will not see many participation. So that tells me that what drives you to work, what brings you to work every day. Is it that, or is it actually the work that you do, the meetings that you're going to, the one-on-ones that you're having with the management, what kind of career path you have that, and the work that you do, is it taking you there? That's my thought.
I couldn't agree more, honestly. I had so we were just this week we were at Transform for a conference for people leaders, and I spoke with someone that said exactly the same. So, and this is a common thread that like the old pre-pandemic perks of like, beers, stuff, snacks, like elaborate food, all of that, they don't work. That's not the reason why people are coming back to an office or to collaborate, like to work with others. And it just doesn't work. So in a way, we're redefining the values that people are looking for in companies that they want to join. And I think this is it's a really interesting point as well, because right now you're selling to candidates your company values, your company culture, as opposed to the perks. And I think it's a great thing in a way, because that people that are coming to work in this company, they're engaged, they want to be here. They believe in the mission, they love being involved in what they're doing. And I think it actually makes companies stronger. It is a hard transformation to go through, in my opinion. I'm sure Simi can attest to that. But at the end of the day, you build stronger teams, stronger companies out of that. Because at the end of the day, what brings people together and makes them want to stay at the workplace are their colleagues and what they're working on. Exactly. I think it's a much more powerful way. In terms of the data that we see, I think it's twofold, right? So companies that use Gable, they need the data for one, visibility on usage, right? Like who is going when and where. Should we open an office? Should we not? Like we had some expectations of people coming in, but they're not coming. So now we understand, we can investigate that. Or what are the reasons why people are coming to a space? Is it to be more productive? Is it to collaborate with others? Is it mostly for meetings? Is it mostly for quiet time? This data is very valuable for planning, right? For workplace leaders and decision-making, right? That's one. The second aspect is really, do I know that by doing this, my people are more engaged? Have they felt that they are feeling more connected, that they know their peers better? It doesn't have to be usually, and I'm sure Simi can attest, usually when there are some group of employees in specific locations that might not work together. They might be, most likely they are from different departments. So it's really how do you make those cross collaboration work? So those are the two key things. One is data usage, that helps financial decisions that are very crucial right now. And the second is the personal connection and engagement piece, and how does it help? So those are the key metrics that we see being requested and viewed.
So if we have all of that in mind, how it works and why it matters so much for retention and engagement, and in particular for culture, what would you say? And this is the same question for both of you. Liza, you can take the lead on this one. Like what would you say is the role that the workplace as a function plays now in driving business success for a company or an organization? Because if we look at it, like just a couple of years ago, when you say workplace, most people meant facilities. And there wasn't that big of an impact on, from the workplace standpoint on being essential for a success of an organization. How do both of you see that has changed? And what do you think about this newfound synergy where, workplace teams and people teams actually work together a lot more than they used to?
So I'm sure Simi can share much more in terms of what she sees, and like she's experiences this firsthand. But at least for us, we definitely see that the two roles are combining a little bit. So they are, like, before it was very isolated. You had facilities and you had people, and decisions were very isolated. I think right now, because your workforce is entwined. They might not be they might be fully remote. They don't have any space to go to. It's much more focused on the employee experience. I would say workplace experience. We see this emerging more and more. That sometimes resides in facilities, sometimes in people, but we see that those functions go hand in hand right now. And what I like that right now, what people and workplace teams are looking for, it's not a point solution. This is how can I create a strategy across my workplace needs, and what is a holistic solution I can deploy to focus on the business KPIs that I need to attest, right? Whether this is employee retention, you are measured on employee retention, whether this is engagement, usage, right, of space. This is because this is a financial decision. So all of those things are KPIs that, in the way that we see it, workplace teams are also beginning to be measured on in that sense.
Yeah, well, in all these years, right, one thing, the entire corporate real estate, that domain has evolved. One thing that did not change is that cost metrics. The financial metrics will not change. What is your run rate and what is your capex cost? Those metrics will still say the same, right? No matter
always.
how we must, like, how we say it, things like, okay, cost, how do you measure your experience, effectiveness, all that stuff. But at the end of the day, numbers to CFO will still be the same. So that did not change. Now, I've been in the corporate real estate industry for the last 18 years in North America, and I have seen several changes along this way in the last 18 years that I've been here. I remember, and it goes back to the fact that how the role of workplace function has changed over time. When I started, people used to fight for seats, like literally fight, and for one seat, two seats, over offices, right? Neighborhood allocation, yearly snapshot, like those were our top talking points during these meetings with our business unit leaders. We don't even say business unit these days, we say functions, functional groups, right? We talked about campus planning initiatives, 3-year, 5-year. It seems to be like history now for me. Like we cannot even think beyond a year or two, right? Of course, larger campuses definitely would need to little bit think ahead, but look at the current market dynamics. Like we really don't know what is out there next year or two for us.
Yeah,
I have seen from private office concepts to like where literally offices are being converted into homes. Like I have been to a building, a very old building in my last previous life in Seattle. I saw futon, I saw sofa, couches, like literally they made it at their home, right? I saw from that concept to cubicles. Okay, heads down for cubicle environment. Then became the entire open environment. No, everybody has to see everyone. And now that came with a lot of challenges. And now we are here at a flexible, hybrid, remote working. Like, that change is so interesting. As I mentioned, with all that, we also understood the importance of experience. And I think it started the whole concept. Like, if you see at the roles of how workplace managers or now we have roles such as workplace experience owners, workplace experience managers, workplace experience comes into the play, right? The relationship between how we use our real estate footprint and now we call as workplace, and between the employees have also changed in ways that employees balance productivity, well-being, and foster that sense of connection in the evolving future of work. Like, it's so interesting. I see as, we used to call ourselves as either facility managers. That whole facilities term is very old and very traditional. Then came we could see, corporate real estate roles, corporate real estate functions, head of this, the director of real estate or something like that. Then came the whole concept of workplace experience, and workplace and HR or people that combination is very powerful. Now we don't work in silos, we work together, because workplace is that facilities part, people is that connection part, and that's how we merge all synergies together to make this workplace experience so beautiful. And
Yes, yes, I would think that is the magical piece when you have, you know, the workplace function and people function work together. I think that's what brings a really, truly, as Liza said, holistic solutions, and, you know, in designing workplace experiences that work for everyone and that employees really love, I would say. So I think before we dive into the Q&A section, I would just like to give a very brief overview of Gable. So basically, what can I say about us? We are the only platform that people in workplace teams need to power distributed work and, you know, help employees connect and stay on top of insights and data. With Gable, employees can book either flex spaces or company HQs and offices nearby them and connect with their teams in person, while on the other hand, people and workplace leaders can set budgets, usage policies, track spending, and oversee all the workplace data from one single dashboard. So if you would like to know and hear more about Gable, I will now open a poll. So you can just click yes, and basically we'll get back to you. And I think we are ready to dive into the questions. I'm just trying to figure out if we're having some issues apparently with our chat function, but I think Q&A is still working. So if you want, you can drop some questions in the Q&A module. And while we're waiting for your questions to pour in, I did actually get 2 questions in my inbox before this event for both Simi and Liza. So you can share the answering here. So the first question is, how do you ensure that all employees, regardless of where they are, whether they have an office or don't, have the same experience, have the same visibility, and feel seen in a way?
Simi, I'll let you take it. Thank you. You have an amazing ideas and experience in that.
so, you know, we, as I said, we are a distributed we have a distributed workforce, right? You know, I love the culture that we have in our company, because everybody's treated equal. How cool is that? And irrespective of wherever you work, whether you work in office, you want to come to office, please do come. We offer that flexibility for those who have to manage various things in their personal life, but at the same time they have a huge responsibility of running an organization. We offer that flexibility because we trust. The whole foundation is on trust, right? Providing, as I said, we provide, since we welcome diverse work styles, that flexibility and trust are so key ingredients for us. Empowerment, empowering our employees to do what is good for their teams, because they have they understand the value in what we are trying to deliver to our community, to our customers, to our partners, to our employees. Transparency is so important that we have to have a clear and a concise communication, right, with our employees. Known expectation of an employee, providing them the right tools and technology, so that we can build that reliable culture in a hybrid remote setting. I mean, that's what we do for our teams at Imperva. And again, as I said, we treat everybody equal. So wherever you work, whether you work completely remote, we provide them the same set of services what we provide for our on-site people. So there's no difference.
Amazing.
Love it.
Okay, so go on, Liza.
One of the things that I wanted to mention is also documentation. I think one of the things that we try to do, and we are improving in that, and I can attest, is to document as much as possible and to make sure that when you are onboarded, you have an onboarding plan, You know where you're going, because most people will onboard remotely. Their
Exactly.
managers might not be here, their team might not be here. And it's really important, those crucial few weeks, to make it seamless, well, seamless as possible, right? So I think that's one, is documenting, having guides, very clear I would say goals for the first weeks of onboarding. I think that's one key that helps. And we have also recently have done our first on-site, working together with the team. So those key, step back of, well, of course we work, we have a lot of work, but to make sure that we have time to have fun and connect and collaborate are really crucial. Because we have some teams that they do have an office, and some work remotely. So how do you make sure that you have those connection moments are really crucial? So definitely.
Yeah, I think we actually have two questions just poured into the Q&A module. So the first one, it says, our biggest challenge this year will be to define the ROI of the workplace. How are you tackling proving the worth of the workplace to your leadership? Oh, this is a really good question.
I face this every day. I can take that first. So as much as we love flexibility, as much as we love to offer pretty much cater to the business needs, right? At the end of the day, remember I mentioned the financial metrics will never change. At the end of the day, our CFOs will only look at these metrics because numbers matter, right? Dollars or whatever currency we operate under, right? So that matters. At the end of the day, that is all we work towards. I think ROI comes from, there is a tangible and an intangible aspect of it, right? The tangible aspect of it is how much of the space are you utilizing? Are you going, how much is it vacant, right? What do you see the trend over a period of 6 months? Need not go so far up, right? Like at least for 6 months is a good enough data. Now, what I believe in, we provide, so as much as we empower our employees, like, okay, this is your office space, or this is, it's open, come and work out of the office. But at the end of the day, if this utilization data does not meet the needs, that's when we have to take these hard decisions. I think having a streamlined portfolio is very important in this era. I myself personally, I do not like long-term workspace commitments. I don't like those traditional leave commitments at all. And very much, as I said, we are built on flexibility. So I have a very flexible mindset, which allows me to actually think very because I know I will be able to maneuver things very quickly, right? I can take decisions, informed decisions easily because I'm not tied to this long-term commitment. But at the end of the day, the space utilization is what I really look at. And if you have not, for example, if you have not been into the office for 6 months, unless there is, and then of course, how teams kind of schedule or orchestrate that schedule for you. If, for example, I have known teams within an organization, they like repeatedly every week they come like twice a week or thrice a week. So even if you have that orchestrated within your workplace strategy, that itself will drive towards a better utilization. And those are the data at the end of the day we can justify. When we put a justification together, we justify that, okay, this is the space. It may not be 100%. Even before pandemic, we never saw 100% utilization. We cannot expect that. We always used to, as long as we stayed within 70 to 80% of utilization, we at least have something to go back to. But it should not be 20% of the workspace always utilized and remaining 80% is vacant, right? So.
Liza, anything you'd like to add here?
No, I think you made a great point.
Okay, let's see. The next one says how easy it is for you to monitor and also train your employees across different places. Because I think this kind of relates to the onboarding piece that you spoke about a little bit.
Yeah, so I think we do what we see across the board, a few things. For example, when Gable is rolled out, there are different phases to it. But in general, every new tool or every onboarding has to be one, as I said, well documented. So central knowledge area would be super beneficial for any company, for any onboarding or anything related to, in general, what are the perks? What are the things that I can have? What can I use? This needs to be readily available. This usually is driven by the people or workplace team, depends on what is it, right? What is this benefit, or what capabilities are being brought to the table there. But I think the reminders are really helpful. Town halls of educations on what you can do, when and where, are also really helpful. So I would say one is having something readily available to read, to use whenever you want. The second would be, how do you make sure that you keep this top of mind? So it can be reminders as part of different offsite or different gatherings. We see those things as working the best.
Okay, and I actually think we have, and I'll make this the last question. So what are some successful attractors that you have found pull people in back into the workplace, the physical workplace? Any programming tactics or spatial challenges that have been particularly attractive to employees?
I can take a crack at it. It's no longer the me space anymore, right? It's the we space. So one of the things that I've always seen that work is if you provide them the collaboration spaces where the teams can come together and with the enabling them with the proper right tools and resources and technology. I think that in this era of flexible hybrid working, where we see most of the teams they gather, there is a purpose why they come to the office. So if they need that purpose, that will be enough for them to attract them to workspace. Because if I have to do a heads down work, I would rather do it at my home, right? Because I will have zero distraction, I can focus, I will actually get it more done. But why do we come to work? Not to sit by yourself and do the work, right? So I think that's where the physical space or the spatial design that we have definitely plays a role. I don't think free food is anymore the tractor for our workplace employees. I'm sorry, our workforce to bring them back to work. Yeah. That's not going to work anymore.
Yeah, I can attest for myself. I do appreciate a beautiful and well-designed workspace. I really do, but that's not why I go in anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you both. And first of all, thanks to our audience for some pretty great questions. And a massive thank you to both Simi and Liza for a very fruitful and honest discussion and great energy today. I loved having you, and thank you everyone for joining us. And we will see you for the next webinar.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.